Hi folks, this is Karim Rao from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the matrix labs, the video number 30. We've been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working on discussing the tool that is called repadmin, which is an important tool for diagnosing problems concerning the Active Directory replication or the replication of the Active Directory database. So to discuss this tool, we need to know the terminologies that are associated with this tool. So for example, what is replication? What is pull replication? What is intra-site replication? What is inter-site replication? And a couple of terminologies and glossaries we need to know. So we have a couple of videos, or about 2 videos, discussing the tool itself, an introduction to the tool, some of the switches or the subcommands of this tool. We didn't go in deep in these switches, we will go later, and we'll begin discussing the different terminologies concerning or that will be associated with this tool. As I said before, for example, what is the pull replication, a lot of things actually. So today we will continue working with some important concepts concerning the replication. So today we will discuss an important concept which is called knowledge consistency checker. This is like a smart assistant that will draw the map of the replication. So he is like a map builder. You can say that he is designing the map, the routes to the domain controllers, which is the nearest route, what is the farthest route, what is the link costs between the sites, okay, that contain a couple of domain controllers. So it is basically the soul or the core for the replication. This is the map that will guide the replication process. If it is not there, then the domain controllers will not be able to communicate with each other. Every domain controller will not know his partner that he will replicate to, and which connection he will use to connect to the domain controller if it is in another site. So there is a lot of things. All of these are built by the KCC. He is building the map that contains all of the necessary information for the application. All of these are saved to the NTDS setting. As you can see here, every server or every domain controller in the site will have an NTDS setting that will contain the connection to the other servers. It will contain some of the replication schedule. You can, from the Active Directory sites and services, you can know the replication schedule. You can know the cost of the link. If there is sites or replication or inter-site replication, you can know the cost of the link between the sites. So all of these are saved to the Active Directory sites and services, and especially some of these information concerning the replication is saved to the NTDS setting, which is replicated to all of the domain controllers. So this is a very, very important thing. It contains all the necessary information for the replication. So every domain controller will have this data replicated to him, okay, so he can begin and initialize the replication process. Okay, let's see first of all what is the KCC. So if we go and have a look on the KCC, it automatically generates and maintains the connection object. But what is the KCC? What is it is used for? So we can see for the PDF of Mr. Lobantampol, he has in his PDF an explanation for the KCC. If we go there, for example, let me show you here. So here is talking about the KCC and the different switches. So you can, using repadmin, to regenerate the connections generated by the KCC. So for example, if you remove the domain controller from your site or from our domain, or remove the couple of domain controllers from different sites, then the replication topology or the replication map should be adjusted. If for any reason this was not adjusted automatically, then you need to do this command repadmin/kcc. If you need to recreate all of the connections or change the whole map or rewrite the map from the beginning, then you can use repadmin kcc, or you can ask it or ask the command to create connection for a newly added domain controller or remove a connection for an old domain controller that was removed from the network. So if a new domain controller is added and it is not adjusted in the replication topology map, the KCC can adjust it. If an old domain controller was removed from the network and this was not reflected in the replication topology, the KCC can do that. So we will see all of that. We will see the terminologies, we will see the switches, okay, and we will see how we can, or a real world scenario, how to use the KCC command. So we can use repadmin slash KCC. This is a very important subswitch to solve problems concerning the replication. We will see when the AI tool, we will ask it to create a scenario. We can use this switch or repadmin slash KCC. We will have a scenario, and it's very, very clear one when we should use this switch. So let's first go and see first thing for ChatGPT concerning the KCC. So here I'm asking it to explain the KCC, what is it, and the KCC in general, and the repadmin slash KCC subswitch. So let's see what is the answer of ChatGPT, and we will see also Claude when we ask it the same question. So let's see.
Sure. Let's break this down into simpler terms. What is the repadmin KCC command? Repadmin is a command you run on a Windows server to tell a part of the system, called the Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC, to immediately review and potentially improve the way data is copied or replicated between different servers, domain controllers, in your network. Why would you use it? Normally, the KCC reviews and adjusts the replication every 15 minutes, but you might want to run the repadmin KCC command for two main reasons. One, fix problems. If you had an issue that you think is now resolved, this command forces an immediate check to ensure everything is working correctly. Two, new connections. If you've manually set up new connections between servers, running this command makes the system recognize and use these new settings right away. Basic syntax and examples. To run the command, you simply type repadmin slash KCC. If you want to target all domain controllers in a specific site, you can specify like this, repadmin slash CC site HQ. Asynchronous mode. There's an option to run this command in the background, asynchronously, using the .async parameter. This means the system will make improvements without causing any immediate interruptions. For example, repadmin KCC slash async. Benefits of asynchronous mode. 1. Proactive optimization. It helps ensure the data replication setup is running as efficiently as possible without causing disruptions. 2. Non-disruptive. Changes happen gradually and quietly, minimizing the risk of issues during normal operations. Monitoring the process. While running these commands, you might want to keep an eye on the system to see how things are going. Here are a few things you can monitor. 1. Directory writes and reads. Tracks how much data is being read from or written to the directory. 2. Replication data volume. Measures the amount of data being replicated in and out. 3. Memory usage. Observes how much memory is being used by the security processes. 4. Active Directory threads. Shows how busy the Active Directory process is. Safety tips. 1. Maintenance windows. It's safest to run these commands during low activity periods to avoid unexpected problems. 2. Testing. Always test changes in a non-production environment first to ensure they don't cause issues. What is the KCC? The Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC, is a part of the system that runs on all domain controllers. It figures out the best way for data to be copied between servers to ensure everything stays in sync. Event logs. If you want to track what the KCC is doing more closely, you can check the event logs on the server. Look for events with IDs like 1311, 1566, or 1865, which indicate the KCC's activities and any issues it encounters. By understanding and using the repadmin/e command, you can help ensure your network's data replication is efficient and problem-free.
So we can see here a part of the answer of ChatGPT 4o to monitor a couple of things. These are counters that will add to the performance monitor tool. So these are counters that you can add to the performance monitor tool in the Windows. Okay, you can add it so you can monitor, for example, the read and write to the Active Directory database, the replication or the inbound and outbound replication to and from the domain controllers. This can be measured. Memory usage, how the memory is used during this process. Active Directory threads, also this is related to the database of the Active Directory. So two of these are related to the activity on the Active Directory database, one for the memory usage and one for the application or data volume or application data volume. If we try to see these in real names, so if you go to the performance monitor, you need to add DS directory writes in seconds, DS directory reads in seconds, okay? These counters can provide a rough indication of replication activity as well as other directory activities or database or Active Directory database activities. Okay, so if you are forcing KCC to recalculate replication topology, you may see a small spike in directory writes as changes to replication topology are written to the Active Directory database. This is very, very logic. DRA inbound total bytes in seconds, DRA outbound. So this is related to the directory replication agent, which is responsible for the replication. The directory replication agent counters can show you the volume of data being replicated in and out, which might be helpful to understand the replication activity, increasing or decreasing, okay? LSS private bytes, this counter shows the amount of memory that the local security or policy subsystem service is consuming. Larger, fast-growing values could have an indicative of problem with the Active Directory service, okay? So this is, or this service is related to the Active Directory. I need to have a question, how the local security authority subsystem service is related to the Active Directory. We need to have this question answered. NTDS threads in use. This counter presents the number of threads used by NTDS. We all know the NTDS setting, or this is related to the database of the Active Directory. A significant increase could indicate increased activity in Active Directory processes. So let's ask a very, very simple question. What is the relation? Let's see. Let's go there and ask a simple question. Copy, and then we can go to ChatGPT and ask what is the relationship between and Active Directory service. So as he's seeing here, or as he's stating, this is the problem with the Active Directory service. Or this will affect the Active Directory service. Okay, so let's see that. What is the relationship? So here, as we see here, that there is a couple of things or a couple of relationships between these two. So here, first of all, he is saying that, or giving a definition, what is the local security subsystem? Okay. It is responsible for enforcing the security policy on the system. Okay. Authentication validates user logins by verifying credentials. Access control determines whether user or a process have the right to access specific resource. Auditing log security related events. Okay. Policy enforcement, enforce policy related to password changes, account lockouts, and other security setting. As for the Active Directory service, we all know this is the Active Directory itself. Manage user accounts, computers, and groups. Store information about resources like user accounts, computers, and printers. So this is what is Active Directory. It is like a central location to store accounts for users and computers and managing them. Replication, ensure that the changes to directory adding or modifying user accounts are propagated across all those. So there is a service called Active Directory service. It is responsible for replication, storing information, and managing user accounts. Anyway, so what is the relation between those two? Here, let's see the relationship. Here is saying that authentication authorization lasts when a user prompts to log into a Windows system. LAS handles the authentication process by verifying the user credentials. AD role, if the system is a part of the AD domain, LAS communicates with AD to validate the credentials against the information stored in AD. So there is a direct relation between LAS and the Active Directory. To verify if he's a domain user account, then it should communicate with the LAS to verify the credentials of the user. This is the first thing. LAS enforces security policies on a local machine. AD provides group policies and other security settings that are distributed and enforced across all domains. Okay, this is not clear here what we mean by local machine. So this is not enforced by the local, this is not a local policy. So what is the role or what is the relationship between the security policies or the LAS and the Active Directory? There is no relationship as it appears from the description. Account management. LAS role manages local accounts so and so related to those accounts. Manage domain accounts and policies. Okay, again there is no relationship between both. Sign in handles the ticketing process for Kerberos and network authentication. Acts as the key distribution for Kerberos, issuing tickets that allow. I don't see any relationship unless it is for the verification or authentication and authorization. Let's ask, because this answer is not convincing, or I'm not convinced with this answer, so let's ask Copilot if you have an answer. So getting here, we can see the references of his answer. He is saying that a very short answer. He is saying it plays a crucial role in Windows authentication process, okay, especially in a domain environment where Active Directory is used. Let's break it down. Authentication process, when a user logs in, when login process collects their credentials such as password and certificate, the credentials are passed to LAS through this DLL file. Then the LAS validates these credentials against the security account SAM database on a local computer or an Active Directory. So this is a good explanation, okay? Then what happened after that? So it communicates with the Active Directory database to verify the credentials. So this was answered by ChatGPT for all. Okay, if it is domain joined computer authentication is done in the domain, the authenticating target is the domain controller. Okay. Then let's go and see the answer. LAS and Active Directory. LAS interacts with Active Directory to authenticate users during login, manage access rights for users, enforce security policies. So all of this is done when you authenticate the user. So if you authenticate it, then you can check the rights or you have rights to be applied to him and there is policies to be applied to him. This is all done once he is authenticated and logged into the domain. Without LAS, the security of the Windows operating system would be compromised, make it easier for unauthorized users to gain access to the sensitive information. In summary, LAS is the gatekeeper that ensures secure authentication and access management within an Active Directory environment. Okay, so this is, I see only one relationship between the LAS and the Active Directory. It is the authentication process, okay? So if we put this counter and we see this counter, LAS private bytes, or the memory used by the LAS service, if it is large and fast growing, then there is a problem with authentication, or there is a large or a bunch of users, or let's see, users, large number of users are authenticating, or the process itself is not working perfectly and it's consuming RAM without any results. Okay, so this is one of the things. Okay, so there is a couple of other counters you can add to monitor the replication process. So all of these you can use to monitor the replication process, the writing to the Active Directory database, the inbound and outbound replication, the last memory usage, the NTDS threads in use. There is a couple of threads also you can use, or a couple of counters you can use. So let me show you all these counters. If we go there, this screenshot, we can see we have seen inbound and outbound. We have discussed it in inbound and outbound. So all of these, I think we have discussed. All of these are discussed, but you can see that there are 3 inbound counters and 4 outbound counters. All of these are used. Some of them are for normal data, not compressed, and some are for compressed data. So replication data can be compressed, okay? So if we see, for example, these counters and the explanation of them, this is a screenshot, okay, for some counters. So you can add these counters and these counters to manage the replication process of the Active Directory database. Let's see Claude 3.5 discussing these counters when I give him this screenshot. So let's see what is his answer.
Number of
So let's go up there.
explaining Active Directory's knowledge consistency. The screenshot shows the Performance Monitor tool in Windows, specifically monitoring several counters related to Active Directory replication. These counters are part of the Directory Replication Agent, DRA, metrics, which measure the flow of data during replication between domain controllers. Let's break down each counter. DRA inbound bytes total /SEC. This measures the total number of bytes received per second during replication. It gives an overall picture of incoming replication traffic. DRA inbound bytes not compressed within site /SEC. This shows the amount of uncompressed data received per second from domain controllers within the same site. DRA inbound bytes compressed between sites after compression /SEC. This indicates the amount of compressed data received per second from domain controllers in different sites after decompression. DRA outbound bytes total /SEC. Similar to the inbound counter, this measures the total number of bytes sent per second during replication. DRA outbound bytes not compressed within site /SEC. This shows the amount of uncompressed data sent per second to domain controllers within the same site. DRA outbound bytes compressed between sites before compression /SEC. This indicates the amount of data sent per second to domain controllers in different sites before it's compressed. DRA outbound bytes compressed between sites after compression /SEC. This shows the amount of data sent per second to domain controllers in different sites after it's been compressed. These counters help administrators monitor the replication traffic, understand the volume of data being transferred, and identify potential issues or bottlenecks in the replication process. The graph in the image shows a spike in activity around 8:51 and 55 seconds AM, which could indicate a period of increased replication activity, possibly due to a large number of changes or a forced replication event.
So as we can see here, very, very good explanation of the counters. And let's go and see Claude again explaining what ChatGPT answered before. So when we go there and ask ChatGPT to explain what is KCC and what is used for, let's see the answer of Claude. Okay, if we go there and ask it to explain it.
Certainly, I'd be happy to explain this in simpler terms. This text is about a tool called repadmin and a process called the Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC, in Microsoft's Active Directory system. Let me break it down. What is it? The KCC is like a traffic manager for information in a network of computers called domain controllers in a business. It decides how information should be shared between these computers to keep everything up to date. What does repadmin/KCC do? It's a command that tells the traffic manager, KCC, to immediately recalculate the best routes for sharing information. Normally, this happens automatically every 15 minutes, but sometimes you might want to do it right away. When to use it? If there were problems and you fixed them, you can use this to make sure everything's working properly again. If you've manually set up new connections between computers, this command helps activate them. The /async option. This is like telling the traffic manager to work in the background without disturbing the normal flow of traffic. It's useful when you want to improve things without causing immediate disruptions. Monitoring. While there's no direct way to watch the traffic manager work, you can look at other signs to see if things are running smoothly. It's like checking the speed of cars on a highway or how many cars are passing through, rather than watching the traffic light system itself. Why it matters. In a big network of computers, keeping information consistent and up-to-date is crucial. This tool helps manage that process efficiently, which is important for businesses relying on this network to function properly. The text goes into more technical details, but that's the gist of it in simpler terms. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific part?
So as we can see here, this is very good explanation. Let's see something here. Here I need to know the KCC is changing the replication topology every 15 minutes. This is related to the replication schedule for the inter-site replication, or this 15 minutes is also done in the inter-site replication, or this is between sites and within the same site. So let's see how he get this answer. So I think he got it from Mr. Low van der Poel. Okay, so by default, HDC performs the calculation every 15 minutes. So this is not related to the inter-site or inter-site. So this is done by HDC. HDC will recalculate the connection with other DCs every 15 minutes. Okay, so this is done every 15 minutes. So this is a good thing to know. I thought this was done with the replication schedule of the inter-site, for example. So this is one good thing to know. So it is recalculated every 15 minutes. So very good answer. If we go and ask it to give it a real world example, so as we see here, this is only a theoretical explanation. Let's see if I tell him to use real world example on a domain named matrix.internal with 4 domain controllers, DC1, DC2, DC3, DC4. Let's see how this will be applied to a real world scenario.
All right, let's use a real-world example to explain this. Scenario. Imagine you are the IT administrator for a company with a network domain named matrix.internal. You have 4 domain controller servers named DC1, DC2, DC3, and DC4. These servers replicate data among themselves to ensure consistency across the network. Normal operation. Under normal conditions, each of these domain controllers checks and adjusts the data replication setup every 15 minutes. This process ensures that any changes made on one server are copied to the others, keeping all servers up to date. Now, let's say you encountered a problem. Perhaps DC2 was offline for some maintenance, and after bringing it back online, you noticed some data inconsistencies. The data changes made on other servers while DC2 was offline haven't yet been replicated to DC2. Using repadmin/KCC. To fix this, you want the KCC to immediately recalculate and adjust the replication setup across all your domain controllers. One basic command. You can run the following command on any of the domain controllers to make all of them recalculate their replication setup. repadmin/KCC. 2. Targeting a specific site. If all your domain controllers are part of a site in HQ, you can run repadmin/KCC site HQ. Example with asynchronous mode. If you want to make sure this recalculation happens in the background without disrupting current operations, you can add the /async parameter. This is useful if your network is busy and you want to avoid any potential interruptions. 1. Asynchronous command. Running this command will start the recalculation process in the background. repadmin/KCC/async. #real-world benefits. Immediate fixes. By running repadmin/KCC, you can quickly address issues like the one with DC2. This forces the system to recognize that DC2 is back online and to update it with the latest data from the other controllers. Optimizing new connections. If you added a new connection between DC1 and DC3 manually for faster data replication, running repadmin/KCC ensures this new connection is used right away. Monitoring the changes. To keep an eye on the changes and ensure everything is working smoothly, you can monitor various metrics. Directory writes and reads. Watch the amount of data being read and written to see the replication activity. Replication data volume. Track how much data is being replicated to and from each server. Memory usage. Check how much memory the replication processes are using. Active Directory threads. Look at the number of threads being used by the replication processes. Safety practices. Performed during low activity, it's best to run these commands during times when network activity is low to avoid any potential issues. Test first. Before making changes in your production environment, test the commands in a lab setting to ensure they work as expected. Summary. By using the repadmin/kcc command on your matrix.internal domain with domain controllers DC1, DC2, DC3, you can quickly and efficiently manage and optimize your data replication setup, ensuring all servers are up to date and functioning correctly.
So as we can see here, the answer is good, and we can see these four counters. These are not the real names of them. So we can see directory writes and reads. If we go to the PDF, this is named ds directory writes slash second, ds directory reads slash second. So here in the answer, he is talking about directory writes and reads. As for replication data volume, it is named DRA inbound bytes total per second, DRA outbound bytes total per second. As for memory usage, it is less private bytes. As for Active Directory threads, it is named NTDS threads. So these are the real counter names, and these are description names for the counters. Or this is description for the counters, not the real counter name. Okay, so as we can see, very, very good answer. Let's try to ask Claude to have or give us a real world example. If we go and go down, there is an example here. Let's see the answer.
Certainly. Let's use a real-world example with the domain matrix.internal and four domain controllers, DC1, DC2, DC3, and DC4. Imagine Matrix Corporation, a company spread across 4 office buildings in a city. Each building has its own domain controller, DC1 in the headquarters, DC2 in the research and DC3 in the sales office. DC4 in the customer support center. These domain controllers are like librarians, each responsible for a copy of the company's important information, the Active Directory. They need to keep their copies in sync so everyone in the company has the latest information. Now, let's see how the Knowledge Consistency Checker, KCC, and repadmin work in this scenario. Normal operation. Every 15 minutes, each domain controller's KCC, our librarian, decides how to share updates with the others. For example, DC1 might share directly with DC2 and DC3, while DC4 gets its updates from DC3. Using repadmin/KCC, let's say Matrix Corp just opened a new direct network connection between the headquarters and the customer support center. The IT admin might run copy repadmin/KCC DC1 DC4. This tells the librarians in the headquarters, DC1, and customer support, DC4, to immediately reconsider how they're sharing information, potentially using the new direct connection. Using repadmin/KCC/async, during a quiet weekend, the IT admin might decide to optimize the whole system. Copy repadmin/KCC DC1 DC2 DC3 DC4/async. This tells all 4 librarians to rethink their sharing strategy, but to do it quietly in the background without disrupting any ongoing work. Troubleshooting. Suppose the sales office, DC3, reports that they're not getting updates about new products. The IT admin might run copy repadmin/kccdc3. This forces DC3's librarian to immediately check and potentially fix its connections with the other domain controllers. Monitoring. While the IT admin can't directly watch the librarian's work, they can check signs of activity. How many new entries are being written in each library? DS directory writes/SEC. How much information is being shared between libraries? DRA inbound/outbound bytes. How busy each librarian is, and TDS threads in use. By using these tools, Matrix Corp ensures that all 4 of its offices always have the latest, consistent information, whether it's about employees, computers, security policies, or any other crucial company data.
Very, very good answer, but I think here there is something that maybe seems not correct. Here is when he's trying to use the KCC, he can put or RP admin slash KCC and then he can put the site. Why he need to put this domain controllers one by one? I think this is not the correct syntax, but we can bypass the answer because this is very, very good and very, very simple to understand. Then the next thing we have discussed, this one for the counters, I have already showed this to you guys. And actually, after that, we can go and see ChatGPT 4o answer about this screenshot. But anyway, it was not that good, so I will bypass it. So just a moment. So we can go to the next thing here. We need to go to another command which is called rep admin replicate. So the KCC will rebuild the connection between the domain controllers or build the connection map for the replication topology to work. So there is a connection map. The replication uses it to pass the data from one server to another using this connection map. So here, for example, I ask ChatGPT 4o to go to Microsoft page concerning this command. This page explains the admin replicate command, which forces immediate replication of directory between domain controllers. This is useful for testing or fixing replication issues without waiting for the scheduled replication. The command can specify the source and destination domain controller by their host name or unique identifiers. It also supports various parameters for customizations as force replication, async replication for background processing. Examples and detailed are provided. This is the link, okay, concerning the admin replicate. Okay, I ask it to summarize it. You can ask Copilot to do the same, but here this is, as we see here, this is the answer of ChatGPT 4o. If I ask Copilot to summarize the page, if you go there and ask it to summarize this page, a very, very short summary, I think. So here, as you can see, this is very, very good or very short summary. Here's some key points where the content is outdated and users could check the Microsoft product. So this is outdated. Replication command is details use of a replicate command for immediate replication between domain controllers. Provide examples for replicating directory partitions, including read-only contexts. Command syntax mention the rep admin tool and its command line syntax for replication task. Anyway, so this is the answer of ChatGPT 4o and Copilot. Let's go to the answer of Claude because I have already go to Mr. Lowenthal-Paul PDF and let me show you all because there is something here. He is including the command for replication. Here is some explanation of the commands. So I took his explanation here from PDF and ask Claude to explain it in simple terms. Let's see the answer of Claude concerning this explanation by Mr. Lowenthal-Paul. So if you go there and ask it to explain it.
Certainly. Let's break this down into simpler terms using a real-world analogy. Imagine Active Directory as a huge library system, and each domain controller, DC is a branch library. The repadmin/replicate command is like a special delivery service for books between these libraries. What it does, this command tells one library, the destination DC, to immediately get all the latest books, data, from another library, the source DC, for a specific section, directory partition. Why use it? To quickly update one library with the latest books from another. To check if book sharing is working after fixing a problem without waiting for the regular delivery schedule. How to use it? You need to tell the command which libraries are involved and what section of books you want to update. You can identify the libraries by their simple name, full address, or a special ID number. Special options. /force, like telling the delivery truck to go even if the road was closed. /async. The delivery happens in the background while other work continues. /full gets all the books again, even ones the library might already have. /adref sets up a system where libraries notify each other about new books. /read-only. The destination library just looks at the books but doesn't keep them. Example. Copy. repadmin/replicate dest DC01 source DC01 DC equals contoso DC equals com. This is like saying, hey dest DC01, go get all the latest books in the contoso.com section from source DC01. The /read-only option. This is like sending a librarian to another branch to look at their books and take notes, but not actually bring any books back. It's useful for checking what books are available without making any changes to your own library.
Okay, so in a sense, this command is powerful for IT to manage and update their Active Directory quickly and efficiently, ensuring all branches have the most up-to-date information. So let me show you something here, guys. So here, if you go to the slides, first of all, this is the consistency checker, and KCC is an algorithm. Okay, so we'll see that KCC, it's a software and it is an algorithm you can see in services. So you can see there is a service called ntds kcc.dll. So it's a software, and you think this is an algorithm, or this is a DLL service, as we say. KCC is an algorithm in NT or NT directory services, NTDS. So in the NTDS, or these are NTDS related, or the NTDS is the database of the Active Directory. This is related somehow to the service of the Active Directory database, or the DLL of the Active Directory database. It runs under it, okay? So NTDS KCC. So this is the KCC. We have discussed it, and we have discussed different syntax. So in the KCC, you can run it on a certain domain controller, a partial server name, so you can type a small part of your server, okay, or you can put star to include all of the domain controllers, or you can put the site, then the sites, or the site name, this will include all of the domain controllers, and a lot of things actually. So these are all how you can run the command, and this is KCC auto-generate topology. We have seen this, and up-to-date vectorness, we have already discussed this concept before. And for the high water mark, also we have discussed the high water mark before. These are all already discussed. Okay, so we will stop at the replicate, or we will begin here for the replicate, and we have asked Claude to explain the replicate, but we need first to discuss every one of these parameters. But before that, I need to go and see Mr. Lo van der Poel slides, because we need to check something here. I will need to show you all a couple of things here before going to the replicate command. These are all on the less. Remember, less we have discussed this less. Okay, let's go and let me show you all something here. So this is Mr. Lo van der Poel channel. This is the KCC. We have already seen this. This is how you can use, for example, if we go and see this one, for example, here he is saying grep admin kcc star as sync. This means it will run on all of the domain controllers. They have 3 domain controllers. The kcc will be rebuilt for all of the 3 domain controllers. You can type star and you can put a part of the name of the server, and it will know and create the kcc or create the connections for it. We will see this one by one, so let's wait and see. For example, here, if you can see that, let me show you something here. For example, here is saying kcc and the name of the server. Okay, so you can type star to include all of the domain controllers, or you can type one server name, or you can type star a part of the name of the server. Okay, or you can type the whole site. Okay, if you include the site, it will include all of the servers in the site. So there's a lot of ways you can ask the KCC to rebuild the connections. It can rebuild connections for a specific server if you type the server name, or you put a star, it will do all of the connections for all of the servers, or type a part of the server name and before it a star, so it will, if any server contains this letters, it will work on it. Okay, so there's a lot of things. You can see here is the site, okay, KCC site, and so there is a lot of ways you can use the KCC. Okay, so this is what we are talking about. So let me show you all, for example, how this will be done. So here we'll open command prompt, and you can use, by the way, the replication command both on the administrator and on the PowerShell, on the PowerShell and on the command prompt. So we'll type the command. So we'll type KCC. I have 2 domain controllers, so I can type star, so I can run the KCC on both. Okay, so you can type a certain server, and then connections are consistency check is done. This is on one server, or you can type star, okay, to include all of the 2 servers. I can run this on PowerShell and on CMD. So this is done. Then we can go and run the same command, but we can put a star to include all of the servers. So we can put a star, or I think we can put a star. Okay, this will, here I'm trying to tell him to get a part or a name, or he will see if any of my servers contain DC. He will run the KCC on all of the servers that contain DC. Star, then a couple or a partial name of your server before it star, it will see any server that will contain DC and it will run KCC on it. So you'll see now this. So I'm trying him to tell if there is anything called SM01, not 2. I need to tell him SM. He will not find. My server have SM02, only one server, so, but he didn't try to get the server itself, so there is a problem when you work with this syntax. Okay, he cannot take the part of my server name, and KCC can know a part of my server name. This was not done. I tried a couple of things, still he doesn't recognize the server. I need to put the full server name. Okay, so let's see, let's go further. So here I'll try to put a part of my server name. Okay, so here you can see when I type SM0225, I didn't type the C, so this is a part of my server name. He run the KCC on it, so this is a part of the server name. It successfully identified the server from a part of it or a part of the name of the server, it is already succeeded in knowing that. If you go to the command prompt, we will run the same command, so successful. Then we can run it on the site as a whole. Okay, so we can tell him kcc star to run it on all of the servers, or we can type site name. So we can see here, this is star, it is done on primary domain controller and additional domain controller. And I am running it from my additional domain controller, as we can see. So this should be done by a domain admin account, by the way. So now we'll put the site, and then our site is called default first site. So it will run on all of, KCC will run on all of the domain controllers within the site. Okay, so this should be done. If we go to our console and see Active Directory sites, to know our site name, by default it's called default first site. Okay, if you didn't change the name. If you go to Active Directory sites, here I don't have the console added, so I need to add the snapshot, and then there is Active Directory sites. Okay, here it is. Not domain and trust, I need the Active Directory sites. So we remove and then add our Active Directory sites, and then add, and then OK. And then if we go and see this, okay, we'll open that, and then open, this is the default first site name. So this is the name. Okay, it's called default first site name. So we can copy the name and put it in the PowerShell command. Okay, copy, and then okay, here you go. These are the NTDS setting. You can see the connections. Okay, I'm trying to get the name actually, but the name is there. Okay, it is called the default first site name. So we can then type and press enter. So we can see it run on both domain controllers. This is like putting a star, okay? But I think star, it will run on all the C's in the forest, I think. But this is on the site, actually. So, as we can see here, it can run on both PowerShell and command prompt. So now we have discussed before the up-to-date vectorness and the high water mark. We have seen this. If we go again, if we need to say the high water mark, or let's refresh our mind concerning what is the high water mark. If we go and see, let me show you all what is the high water mark. Let's go further here. The up-to-date vectorness is a value that the destination domain controller maintains for tracking the originating updates that are received from all source domain controllers. Okay, this feature prevents unnecessary replication. This is one, and the other one is a high watermark. It's a value that the destination domain controller maintains to keep track of the most recent changes that it has received from a specific source domain controller. A specific source, and here it is all domain controllers, okay, all source domain controllers. This is only a specific domain controller source, okay, so this is specific and the other is all. This is the difference between the high watermark and the up-to-date vectorness, okay. So this is very, very good. Let's continue and see Mr. Low van der Poel video. So here, this is the replicate we need to discuss, or what Claude have discussed with us. This is the replicate syntax, okay. If we discuss it one by one, let me show you all what is this one? Okay, if we go there and discuss this, what is the replicate, okay, or what is the syntax here? If we go to the PDF here, or go to the syntax, we can see repadmin/force overrides connection disabled by repadmin options. So what we can do, for example, let me focus on what is repadmin options. You can use this option to disable replication between domain controllers. So the repadmin options, what can it do? It add or remove a global catalog replication. So you can, through the NTD repadmin options, disable replication of global catalogs, disable replication, inbound replication between two domain controllers, and outbound replication between two domain controllers. You can disable KCC on any domain controller. So these are the repadmin options. So for example, if you disable replication between DC1 and DC2 using this option, and then if we return back and tell him repadmin/replicate/force, this will override disabled connections or replication disabled connections by the repadmin option. So this is very, very important switch. So repadmin/replicate/force, this will override disabled options by the repadmin options. For example, disable replication, disable inbound replication, outbound replication, KCC option, global catalog replication. So this is the force. Async, we have known what is async is to replicate, not replicate during or make replication as quietly as possible, not to disrupt the operation. Okay. This is async. Full, it will request the source DC to replicate all changes for a specific partition. So for example, if you need to replicate the domain partition from a source domain controller to a destination domain controller, the normal replication, it will replicate the last change. For example, if a change was done at 3 a.m., it will replicate the last change, the one that was done in 3 a.m. But if you put repadmin/replicate/full, it will take all of the changes before 3 a.m., okay, and within 3 a.m. So it will not take only 3 a.m. changes, it will take the changes before 3 a.m. It will take all of the changes to a certain active directory partition. Okay, this does not mean it will remove lingering object on the destination DC if you have some objects deleted on your destination DC, it will be in the active directory recycle bin, or it will be contained for a certain amount of time, and then it will be tombstoned, and then it will be removed. But this switch will not remove lingering object on the destination DC. So when I tell him repadmin/replicate/full, that means to replicate all of the changes for a certain partition, okay, not the last change. So for example, I need all of the changes done to this partition from the beginning, okay, all of it. I need a replication for all of the changes, not a specific change or not the latest changes. Okay, so this is very, very useful one if you need a full replication for a specific partition from a source DC to a destination DC. Adref, this is something like if you need a specific object in the active directory to be replicated immediately, so you can put repadmin/replicate/adref and then add the object that you need it to be replicated immediately. So for example, if you need a certain user to be replicated directly when any changes happen to it, to all the domain controllers, you can use the adref switch. As for read-only, a replication is done, but it's a read-only copy. You cannot change the data sent to you, okay? So you can only take the changes as a read-only, or like to be informed with the change. You can see the changes, but you cannot apply it to your destination active directory database. This is useful in some situations. We will talk about it, but these are all the situations, or these are all the sub-switches for repadmin/replicate. So repadmin/replicate/force/async/full /address/read only. If you go to ChatGPT and try to ask it to explain the commandlets here, if for example ask him to uh, uh, ask these or to use a real world scenario to explain these switches, let's see if we can take a good explanation here. For example, if we try to ask ChatGPT for O.
Let's use some real-world examples with a domain named matrix.internal and 4 domain controllers, DC1, DC2, and DC3, and DC4. Example 1, basic replication. Suppose you want to immediately replicate changes from DC1 to DC2. You would use bash repadmin replicate DC2 DC1. This forces DC2 to pull the latest data from DC1 right away. Example 2, forcing replication. If you need to replicate even if some connections are disabled, you can use the /force parameter, bash repadmin replicate DC2 DC1 force. This ensures the replication happens despite any disabled connections. Example 3, asynchronous replication. To replicate data from DC3 to DC4 in the background without immediate impact on performance, use the /async parameter, bash repadmin /replicate DC4 DC3 /async. This starts the replication process in the background. Example 4, using unique identifiers. If you prefer using unique identifiers, GUIDs, instead of names, the command might look like this, bash repadmin /replicate DC4, GUID of DC3. Replace GUID of DC3 with the actual GUID of DC3. Example 5, replication with specific naming context. To replicate a specific part of the directory, naming context, specify it at the end of the command, bash repadmin, replicate DC2, DC1, DC equals matrix, DC equals internal. This forces replication of the specified naming context from DC1 to DC2. These examples illustrate how the repadmin's replicate command can be customized to meet different replication needs in a real-world network environment.
So this is a good example. As you can see here, we have seen the answer of Claude. I think we didn't see the answer of Claude when we asked it to use a real world example. Here we asked it to explain it theoretically using layman terms. Here we need to see a scenario. Let's see the answer of Claude. Okay, will be the last thing in our video, but let's first see the answer of Claude.
Start new chat. Start chats you use often. Recents. Certainly. Let's use the Matrix Corporation example again with their domain, matrix.internal, and 4 domain controllers, DC1, DC2, DC3, and DC4. We'll imagine some scenarios where the IT team might use the repadmin /replicate command. Basic replication. Scenario. The HR department just updated the employee directory on DC1, headquarters, and the IT team wants to make sure DC3, sales office, gets this update immediately. Command. Copy. Repadmin /replicate DC3 DC1 DC equals matrix, DC equals internal. This tells DC3 to immediately get all the latest information from DC1 for the entire matrix, internal domain. Using /read-only, scenario. The IT team suspects there might be some inconsistencies between DC2. Copy. Customer support. They want to check what's on DC2 without risking any changes to DC4. Command. Copy. Repadmin /replicate DC4 DC2 DC equals matrix, DC equals internal /read-only. This allows DC4 to see what's on DC2 without actually updating its own data. Full replication. Scenario. After recovering from a major system crash, the IT team wants to ensure DC2 has absolutely everything from DC1, even if it means recopying existing data. Command. Copy. Repadmin /replicate DC2 DC1 DC equals matrix, DC equals internal /full. This forces a complete copy of all data from DC1 to DC2, ensuring nothing is missed. Async replication. Scenario. It's a busy Monday morning, and the IT team needs to update DC3 with new security policies from DC1. But they don't want to slow down the system during peak hours. Command. Copy. repadmin/replicate DC3 DC1 DC equals matrix, DC equals internal/async. This starts the replication in the background, allowing normal operations to continue uninterrupted. Forced replication. Scenario. The network link between DC1 and DC4 was temporarily disabled for maintenance. Now that it's back up, the IT team wants to force an immediate sync, overriding any settings that might prevent it. Command. Copy. repadmin/replicate DC4 DC1 DC equals matrix, DC equals internal/force. This ensures replication happens immediately, even if there are settings that would normally prevent it. Replicating a specific partition. Scenario. Matrix Corp just created a new department, Innovations, and they want to ensure its information, stored in a specific partition, is replicated from DC1 to all other DCs. Commands. Copy. repadmin/replicate DC2 DC10U equals innovations, DC equals matrix, DC equals internal repadmin/replicate DC3 DC10U equals innovations, DC equals matrix, DC equals internal repadmin/replicate DC4 DC10U equals innovations, DC equals matrix, DC equals internal. These commands specifically replicate the innovations organizational unit to each DC. By using these commands, Matrix Corp's IT team can ensure that critical information is distributed quickly and accurately across all their offices, maintaining consistency and reliability in their corporate network.
Even though this example is very, very good, but he has mistaken at the last one. We do not replicate OUs, we replicate domain partitions. So when you replicate matrix.internal, we are replicating the whole domain partition. Okay, we are not replicating OUs. Okay, this is not, we are not replicating objects. Okay, there is a specific command for replicating certain objects, but this is not the command. Okay, so this is the explanation of the replicate command. And there is one thing here we need to discuss: when to use the read-only. If you go to the slide, there is the read-only replicate. If you need to replicate a read-only copy of a partition of the Active Directory database, when we need to use such, or when scenarios we can use this scenario. Essentially, it allows you to request replication to be performed one way, so it's not two ways. If you tell him to replicate or repadmin/replicate, it will be done inbound and outbound. This read-only, it is in one way, and the destination DC will not update the source DC with any changes. It's from the source DC to the destination DC. Replication from the source to the destination. This is an outbound replication, not an inbound replication. This can be useful in scenarios where you want to check the replication status or troubleshoot replication is without making any changes to the destination DC. So the replication will be done to the DC, and a replication of a certain partition, it will be replicated to the DC. This is read-only. It will not change the database of the Active Directory. This is a read-only database. Why we need to do that? It's particularly handy when you are investigating potential replication problems, and it prevents accidental updates to the source DC during the troubleshoot process. Keep in mind that the read-only is an optional parameter, and if you omit it, the repadmin command will perform a full two-way replication. So this is one thing we need to make sure we know it. Read-only, it's one direction, and I remember when I discussed this with the AI tool, this is also can be done when you are having an RODC. Okay, this can be used when you are using the RODC to replicate certain things to the RODC. I think so. Okay, so we will stop at what? We will stop at the command or the monitoring replication, the command which is called ripl summary. This is another video we will discuss. This is a report. We will use a repadmin/rip summary to take a report of the replication process. We will see how it is useful and how we can use it. So we will stop at what minute? At minute 21:37. Hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.